Hello, everybody. Welcome to our session on unlocking the power of Google Analytics 4. My name is Danny Echdahl. I'm the Vice President of Operations at Conversion Logix. Our agency specializes in multifamily housing and senior living. And so what we're going to attempt to do here today, myself and my guests, is take some of the buzzworthy phrases, machine learning, AI, first-party data, and ground them in some practical examples for the multifamily housing and senior living space. So as an agency, we are a Google Premier Partner. That means we're in the top 3% of agencies that do business with and have an ongoing relationship with Google. And so joining us today as agency side partners are Marilyn and Cormac. How are you both doing today?
Doing
Very
great.
good. Happy to
Thank
be
you so
here.
much, Daniel.
Good. Thanks for being here. And then on the Conversion Logix side, sort of as our subject matter expert is Liam Keller, who is our performance marketing manager. Liam, welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, appreciate the introduction and excited to be here.
So maybe the first thing that we can do as we go about this exploration of GA4 and what it brings to the table is sort of get an understanding of Google's view of the industry, how privacy, how data sensitivity, how consumer sentiment is changing, so that we can distill it down to some practical examples. So Marilyn, I'll go ahead and toss to you.
Thank you so much, Daniel. Appreciate the introduction. So for everybody in the room, my name is Marilyn, working as an agent development manager, very closely with Conversion Logix, and have been on this ride of GA4. So to your question, as Google and all of the big players, we're responding to consumer behavior, responding to what you want to see when you are opening your laptop or computer and you're on the internet. So obviously in the pandemic, we have seen a large shift of more people being online, more buying online, more sort of discovery, finding new products, etc. So we want to also have on that experience, having it very personalized. So we want to get what we want right now. We don't want to be searching around. We want to get the best value for our time and our bucks. We see that as consumers are asking for those personalized experience, we're also asking that our data is safe. We don't want something to be leaked out. We want to have our password safe. We want to make sure that nobody really knows who the person is behind the computer. So we're kind of in this is catch-24, and we're responding to that to make our advertisers understand how to better reach the new age sort of consumer in their journey online. And that all comes down to digital marketing maturity. So this is a term that I sort of want to lay out a little bit. What it has to do is we want to find the right consumer, taking into account privacy regulations, but by doing that, making the best of technology that we have. So it basically has to do with equipping our advertisers with data, talent, and technology. And what we see for advertisers that are sort of leaned in to collecting first-party data, understanding their customer base, and tying that up to machine learning, to a system that really sort of understands with behavioral modeling what's happening, that those brands are doing way better than their peer set. So just to have some statistic there. So a new research from Boston Consultancy Group last year, they figured out the more mature brands increase their sales by an average of 18% points compared to their peers that are not doing that. So that's huge, because this has effect on your bottom line. This is talking about you're using your marketing efforts and you're seeing a way better performance in your bottom line sales. So the accelerators in that process, if you're an advertiser, if you want to think about sort of capturing that opportunity, basic has to do with be very strategic about your first party data collection, have an end-to-end measurement capability to really show and use predictive models, but also your team. At the end of the day, we can have a machine, but if we don't have the right people using that machine, feeding it information, the machine isn't worth anything. So really thinking about upscaling your talents, creating agile teams, doing test and learning to leverage all of that. And that's how we have position GA4 to sort of be the new age model that will help you to do all of these things, and having a good partner on your side, such as Conversion Logix, to capture that opportunity is what brought us here today.
Wonderful. I think, our clients and, marketing management companies on behalf of multifamily housing communities and senior living communities, they're in a little bit of an advantageous position because, we're beholden by fair housing and good stewardship of, prospect data. And so in some ways, some of the features and benefits that GA4 are going to bring to the table, they take advantage of some of those restrictions that are present, and the system is actually oriented around those restrictions in a really thoughtful way. But you mentioned this concept of digital marketing maturity, and I think that's going to be new to our broad audience here. And so maybe we should start fundamentally, as we as businesses, as we as agency on behalf of businesses want to establish this idea of digital marketing maturity. What's the first most fundamental step that we should be advocating for?
Yeah, I can definitely answer that one. So obviously, the main pillars of digital marketing maturity are, the collection of first party data, having that set, having accurate measurement, and then using automation. And this is kind of what GA4 was built for. I'm assuming most of us on this LinkedIn Live are marketers. We've been working with Universal Analytics for a really long time. It's been around for close to 2 decades. And what it's been measuring, it's like we've kind of been inherited that from the previous generation of marketers before us, right? Not all of us have been working with the same company for the last 2 decades. So what we've been measuring isn't necessarily what our priorities are right now. So like the first step is obviously to dive in and get GA4 property set up. And then beyond that, it's to set it up with the priorities that you have in mind as a company. And I know this is a process. We actually started with Conversion Logix close to a year ago. We wanted to make sure we had a very calculated and coordinated effort to not only start collecting the historical data now, but know what's important to the clients, know what's important to the companies, and start measuring that right now. So we have the first party data. We can track across devices. And then, we just have that automation that can feed and make our ads better. So I know this has been a long process. We've been working on together for close to a year now. So it's fun to finally talk about it out in public right now.
Yeah, I can't help but agree. The journey that we've been on together, it's been, I think, productive for both Google and Conversion Logix, and the continued partnership. I just think that all of our clients are going to benefit from it. So let's shift gears a little bit. We've stated the need sort of for Google Analytics 4 in response to this changing landscape of data and privacy protection. Let's talk about some of the fundamentals. Is this an evolution? Is this a revolution? I think Conversion Logix, and Liam, you can agree, and maybe we'll expand upon this. We're really gaining comfort with the idea that GA4 is not an alien landscape. This isn't a new frontier. Really, this is the promise of what Universal Analytics brought to the table, but taken to the next level, and respecting all of those data privacy concerns. So this is truly an evolution of what we had before, rather than something totally new and unfamiliar. And so maybe the best fundamental building block we can start with is some of the metrics, the differences between how we measured and how we thought about traffic in Universal Analytics versus GA4. So Liam, I'll go ahead and toss to you.
Yeah, I concur with that statement, Danny. The evolution versus a revolution. When you kind of think about Universal Analytics, like Cormac said, it was built 2 decades ago, centered around desktops, and now we're here. People use their phones, their desktops. It's not a linear journey to lease. And GA4 does a good job of kind of analyzing the user behavior once they get to the website in a better way, and is that promise that's being fulfilled from Universal Analytics. And the primary difference there is Universal Analytics was centered around session-based metrics, which are a little more black and white. You're just seeing, someone's coming to the website, are they leaving, how long are they staying, and then you can tag things like goals and such. Whereas GA4 dives into the events and layering that into the metrics that are then within GA4. So understanding user behavior and engagement throughout the website creates a more vivid picture of how people are interacting with the website and the traffic you're driving there, and just makes it a little bit easier for us as marketers to understand how we can strategically adjust things to go ahead and drive our clients' bottom line. So some of the metrics that are going to be shifting that are kind of centered around this more event-based system are engagement rate. That's going to be a big one. That's kind of your inverse of bounce rate, where you're taking a look at this and you're seeing how many people are actually engaging with my website. And that's what we want at the end of the day, is high engagement, lots of conversions, and then that means success for our clients, which is our goal. The other part is engaged sessions, and that's a component of engagement rate. And that's just, taking in different metrics to make sure that the people coming to the website are engaging in that session.
Right.
Engaged sessions per users. That's another interesting thing, because this kind of GA4 helps with multi-touch attribution, cross-device tracking, things that we didn't have in Universal Analytics, where we're now understanding someone comes back to a website multiple times. So engaged sessions kind of encompasses that. And then average engagement time is just another reflection of, looking at like how long is someone actually engaging with the website, not average session duration, which is what we saw in Universal Analytics, but what is the actual engagement this person's having with the website? Because that's what we want, is we want them to read and interact once we actually get them to the website.
Right. So as I understand it, because we are no longer wanting to discourage bounces, rather we're wanting to build towards certain anchor points on the website, certain key actions that are taking place. Can you talk about sort of the subtle distinction that GA4 has brought to the table, and just expand on that a little further?
Sure. Yeah. So we're looking to go ahead and drive a more positive view of traffic. We are trying to look for the engaged users, and also with the machine learning in the back of GA4, understanding the events that these users are kind of triggering. Since events are such a huge component of this, we're taking a broader look at, okay, what are the micro actions people are taking when they're on the website that lead to the macro actions? So instead of just something that's as black and white as maybe a bounce rate, we're looking at how often are people engaging, which we wanted a higher percentage rather than a lower, such as bounce rate. And then we're also kind of being able to aggregate that event data into understanding user behavior in a way that we weren't able to before in Universal Analytics.
So as I've understood it from the conversations you and I have had, one of the primary benefits that GA4 has brought to the table is using machine learning to interpret the data of user behavior on the websites, to sort of fill in gaps that maybe marketers didn't anticipate. Could you maybe talk about an example that would resonate well with our multifamily housing audience?
Yeah, so a few of the cooler examples that I've seen are machine learning picking up on events or micro actions that we might have deemed are important in Universal Analytics, but maybe not important enough to create a goal out of. So things such as a unit selection, GA4's machine learning is able to say, this is an important action that's taken. This user has selected a unit, which is desirable. It means they're looking. Visiting the floor plans is another action. A few others I've seen are, starting a video, progressing through a video, and finishing a video. That's just reflective of someone coming and wanting to actually take a virtual tour. And this is an interested prospect. And then the big macro actions, GA4 machine learning has even been able to tag things such as an application complete, which is really cool to see just the spectrum that machine learning has been able to kind of digest in terms of understanding how people are interacting with websites, which was not available in Universal Analytics.
So maybe the thought process here is to come out of the gate really, really strong as a marketer, have a key understanding of your community website, define those things that you have historically deemed as valuable that maybe have taken a prospect sort of along the journey from prospect to lease, set and define those, and then let GA4 be a force multiplier and fill in the gaps and identify key events that maybe have been contributing to conversions all along, but assist you as the marketer in raising that to the surface. Google team, is that a good understanding of what GA4 is capable of?
Yeah, I think that's perfect. I really like the easy breakdown of just the micro actions to the macro actions. Like, what are these little things that are contributing? I mean, I think our whole job as marketers, part of our job is justifying our job, right? Like, we have to know, if you give us X budget, this is what we're going to get in return. And obviously, in this space that's getting increasingly hard to do. So this is the job of GA4. If we spend $5K on brand new creative photos for our ads campaign, like, will that new creative actually increase conversion cost and increase conversions? And with, like Liam was saying, within GA4 we can go, so customers that interacted with this new creative actually converted within 4 hours compared to our old creative. So this is we're obviously onto something here. So I really like the explanation from Liam there.
Yeah, and I want to add to that as well, like as like GA4 as the sort of the new engine of telling sort of the story of your data. Like, it's one thing to collect that, it's one thing to have it sort of in a database, but it's the other thing to actually derive insight from it and do that in a way that is coherent with the current privacy regulation data, which means that we have less observable data. So we have less observable data. We want to do actually more with the data that we have, and that's like where GA4 sort of comes in and provides that view, and having a good look at that and sort of tying that up to your business. I think that's where sort of the new generation of agencies can really focus on and providing that value, because it's a new tool. It's like looking at it differently, it's measuring things differently, and it's filling in the gap for where we don't have it in terms of like the data that we miss.
So the promise then, as I understand it, for GA4 is to create compelling reasons on your website for users to provide first-party data that they've consented to, rather than the historical problem that's been observed of, where did this data come from? How much do we trust that? Did we consent to giving that data out? Was it acquired? GA4 clears the table, so to speak, and encourages our marketers, our operators to construct their website strategically, make it compelling, and then elevate scenarios for first-party data to be given up voluntarily. Is that a correct understanding?
Yeah, that's 100% aligned on that, and also to make it even like, for example, more practical, like we used to, for example, look at like page views, but like it's not about like a page view. We want to actually understand like a user that went into the page, and like if the user, just based on like the content that you created in sort of the next 30 minutes, made a decision to actually derive a sale from it. So those are like some of the concept that we're looking much more at, like the data related to our end goal than the data itself, and us sort of needing to build that story around it.
At Conversion Logix, we have a suite of conversion-based tools called the Conversion Cloud. Gives prospects compelling reasons to schedule a tour, claim an offer, really engage with the website in more friction-free ways that were maybe present on the website. And so that's just another maybe example of augmenting the first-party opportunities that are present on the website with compelling add-ons that, again, give prospects a reason to engage with your business, so that then Google Analytics 4 can ingest data, learn from experiences, and guide marketers to make more practical decisions. So maybe, Liam, now would be a good time to talk about maybe the practicality, some of the first-party data that we've been able to take advantage of, and maybe some implementation of that first-party data.
Yeah, it's been exciting to kind of take advantage of the GA4 first-party data that's been different from Universal Analytics. One of the most important things is, really making sure you have a strong conversion set. So I don't know if we mentioned it yet, but conversions are the equivalent to goals in Universal Analytics, and making sure that those are set up and that values are attributed properly to them, that they're set up in the right manner is really important, because those conversions give you an understanding of how people are interacting on top of the micro events that are being added by machine learning. And they also are what's being fed to different algorithms to set yourself up for success to go ahead and create more conversions from feeding conversion data to things such as Google Ads. Another additional layer in GA4 that's been nice to kind of just take a look at is, the audience segments are better. You can get a better understanding of a cohort of people and why they interacted the way they interacted. And then you can take those learnings and apply it to different marketing strategies. You can use audience segments such as visitors going to the floor plans page, and port that into Google Ads to be able to go ahead and bid up on retargeting efforts. There's just a variety of different ways you can use audiences in a first-party friendly way that allow you to go ahead and enhance your campaigns and just the strategies you're using.
And maybe I'll make an important note here, because while multifamily consists of a good part of our audience today, I think you can easily make the connection in the senior living realm that where floor plans might be applicable over here, you can easily put in levels of care to guide the machine, so to speak. Liam, I know you're passionate about the multi-channel attribution capabilities of GA4. Universal Analytics, bless it for all the things that it gave us over the past 2 decades. It came in really, really strong from a last touch perspective. And as a marketer, you needed to really think strategically about all the touches along the prospect journey that might have culminated in a lead or in a lease. Have things improved in GA4 from that standpoint?
They have, and I think 2 of the most exciting facets of GA4 are understanding the kind of multi-touch conversion journey. We know that it's not a linear journey for someone to just go in and lease an apartment or to go ahead and sign someone up for senior living. It's not visit and like just do that immediately. There's a journey that goes along with it, and GA4 does a great job going ahead and showing the multiple touch points. It'll show, you know what, it took 6 points for someone to actually convert, and that kind of gives you an idea of, we need to nurture our leads along the way, that there is research that goes into this, conversations. And the reason it's able to do it so well is, it has better multi-touch attribution and cross-device tracking, because we now know that, people aren't just looking from desktops. They have their tablets, they have their phones, they have their laptop, and they're taking this journey. They're showing people in their life and discussing these apartments they want to lease or this new senior living facility, and they eventually then end up converting. And we're able to get a better understanding in GA4 through its reports of exactly how many touch points it really does take for someone to actually become a leasee or to go ahead and go to a senior living community. And this is really important for kind of just understanding the journey that people take and developing your marketing strategies around that, because we do know it's not a linear journey.
We've only touched on a smattering of the features and benefits that are available in GA4. But I do want to reinforce that time is a little bit of the essence as it comes to this transition. And we know based on our conversations with Google that this transition is multifaceted. In 2023 and 2024, there's going to be some pretty foundational changes to how data is looked at, the legislation framework around data collection. And so I think we are poised really well to say to this audience that the time to act is now. It's here, March 29th. Coincidentally, we're about 90 days away from Universal Analytics stopping to record data. I think 94 days is all that remains. And what is sort of a truism is that machine learning benefits from 90 days or more of acquired data. So the time is right now to take those fundamental steps, take those first steps in making sure that your community website is set up to collect data, understand the data, and then apply and port that data to platforms like Google Ads to augment your understanding of how users are engaging with your website. So what I would say to this forum, to this group is, one, today as early as possible, either yourself in conjunction with your marketing team or maybe in conjunction with a wonderful team at Conversion Logix, create a Google Analytics 4 property. That's one step. I think there are degrees of quality of a GA4 implementation, because we also need to define events on the website. We need to define conversions on the website. We need to give either precise financial or relative financial values to those conversions so that the machine knows which are more valued by you as the user and which are important but maybe lesser in mind. And Liam, set up Google Signal. Does that maybe the next step from your perspective?
I would say you need Google Signals to go ahead and take advantage of everything in GA4 during that setup. You want to start collecting audience data. It really is. I mean, with GA4 being so machine learning based, it's important to get all these things set up as soon as possible and set up in the right way for machine learning to really be able to go ahead and give you the most insightful data and for you to get the most out of it.
So working together with Marilyn, Cormac, Liam, you and your team, we've nearly conducted 1,000 GA4 implementations properly. So, small note of pride when I say that we have a degree of expertise in this and we can benefit sort of the general audience here. So again, we encourage you take the steps that are necessary, understand the GA4 landscape. We will be providing more resources and collateral over the next 90 days and beyond to equip you in that journey. Let's look to the future. I think we're here in the present. We're midway through, nearly to the end of an important transition. Let's toss to Google. Marilyn, Cormac, what can you tell us about the future of what GA4 is going to bring to the table?
Yeah, thanks so much for also getting us through this guidance of like how to get our head around like GA4 and the next steps to do before the deadline. So we know that universalism will sunset, so the sooner the better. So I definitely want to stretch that point. From like an evolving perspective, if we look at GA4, like technology change is based on our behavioral changes. So we can look at like what are the bigger changes in terms of our behavior and how will GA4 sort of tie into that. So like basically has to do with like three things. So obviously the privacy regulations that are changing. I myself am from Europe, so we were sort of a little bit ahead of the games in terms of like getting cookies in and consent mode in and all of these things that actually depreciated a lot of our data that we could observe. So those things and solutions to sort of come back with that will be part of like how we're like thinking about new tools. And the other thing is then sort of the modeling part. So we have machine learning, we have AI, but like mainly machine learning in terms of like getting the behavioral trends to understand like for one conversion that happened on your website, how can I then predict how the next 3 conversions where I don't have any data from will actually end up with. So those modeling with time will even get stronger and better. And that's what we are also investing our resources in. But all of this in terms of like evolvement has to do with the end game. And that's your sort of bottom line. We want to make sure that you understand like your dollar spent on will ads to bring you to the table. And one way you can influence that is by collecting a good source of first-party data. So really knowing your customer and using that data to then sort of do the behavior modeling. And the other part, and I think that's always great to work with great partners such as Conversion Logix, is the creative element. So I just want to reiterate, like, the machine is one thing, getting the data is the other thing, but like we as humans have such a creative resource that will never be as good as like machine learning or AI. I know like lots is going on about this discussion, but we know that we can write a book better than an AI tool can do. So looking at the machine and thinking like, how can I leverage this machine to really make it better? Like that's where we sort of enable people to think about sort of in the future. So, and having sort of more tools in place on that dimension, and also in terms of like our capacity building, things that we can outsource through a machine, let's outsource it. Things that we can creatively do, let's use the tool to then sort of bring us to the next level. I don't know, Cormac, if you want to add anything to that.
No, that was great. I mean, it's just important to think of GA4 as a living, breathing thing, right? We took universal analytics to its limits. It can't keep up with us as modern marketers anymore. So, GA4 will continue to evolve. Like it was built knowing that this landscape we're in right now changes constantly. So it had to be adaptable, and it will continue to be adaptable. And both ways, actually. I know it's tough getting used to any new service. So I know Google has even added back in some things from old UA just for some familiarity's sake. So, I mean, it'll constantly change and adapt and fit marketers where they're most likely to be met.
Yeah, I think that early adopters are going to reap the benefit of gaining familiarity as early in this transition as possible, reaping the benefits of machine learning. And, at Conversion Logix, we're well positioned to aid in that process. Liam, I want to thank you for your time. Cormac and Marilyn, thank you as well. For anybody that enjoyed this LinkedIn Live, I encourage you to subscribe, or rather follow both Conversion Logix and Google in LinkedIn, and be on the lookout for our newsletter. Thank you so much, and have a good rest of your day.
Thank you, Danny, for doing
Thank you.